everyone. Thanks so much for joining us on this Friday evening. We're broadcasting live from beautiful Amherstburg, Ontario and LaSalle in just a few moments. This is another edition of the Arms Bumanlag Project as we head into what is the final weekend of the month of August. Hard to believe already. Glad to have you along for the ride. This is Arms Bumanlag broadcasting, and we've got lots to talk about tonight. We've got an awesome guest. I'm really pumped up to welcome her to the show because it's been, I'd say 2018, the last time I actually did a news story on her. And she's been on my radio shows, TV shows for years. She is like, I'd like to think she's like Windsor's answer to anything that you would see on TLC. But we'll talk about that in the next couple of minutes. She's absolutely phenomenal, and I'm happy to have her on the show. But this show is about you too. So we would love for you to comment and join in the conversation. But before we get to my guest tonight, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. You might remember this. Past Tuesday, we had Jeremy Reno from Easter Seals Ontario on the program. Great guy, and some big news in regards to what Easter Seals Windsor is doing next year as they celebrate a milestone. And this upcoming Tuesday, I have the always awesome Danny Probert from the Probert Bribe and Hotel du Grace Healthcare on the show with me Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. Lots to talk about and catch up with my good friend Danny Probert, so make sure to tune in for that. So my guest on today's program, again, just amazing woman. She is the queen of decluttering. We've talked about organizing over the years. We've talked about her business and what she does for folks here in Windsor, Essex County. I'm really excited to welcome back my good buddy Karen from Get Organized Windsor, who is back on the show with us today. Karen, how's it going? I have not seen you in so long, my friend.
I know. It's so good to see you again, Arms. I feel like everybody's holed up, lately.
Yeah, so. Right?
Yeah.
But your house is looking impeccable as always, and I would expect nothing less.
Well, I was kicked out of my office, so I had the gaming thing, right? My son's in there, so I had to kind of make do here. But yeah, my little pocket of the living room. So.
Well, I appreciate you spending some time with us on the live stream. It's been a while. We got lots to catch up on. But for folks who aren't familiar with you and Get Organized Windsor, give me a synopsis, give me a background on who you are and what you do, and you do so well.
Thank you. My name is Karen Scaddan, and I own Get Organized, which has been open since 2002. I became certified in Toronto, and then I just kind of rode the tide of professional organizing as people were learning about it. They, of course, only associated it with Hoarders and the show back in the day, but now everybody knows a little bit more thanks to the Home Edit and shows like that, so they know really what I do, and there's no question. So I've had a great long run so far, and of course things have changed with everything today the way they are, and I've gone in virtual organizing, which is a whole other realm, which opens it up worldwide now, which is very interesting. So homes, offices, I do it all.
I was just gonna say that's pretty cool. I want to talk about that whole virtual concept too. Now, did that accelerate? I mean, the last time you and I talked, I think we did a story on CBC about the whole Marie Kondo craze, if I'm not mistaken, when everybody was doing the whole thing. And I had to go to the expert, so I went right to you locally. But the virtual tidying and organizing, did that accelerate because of COVID and sort of things that were leading up to that? Yeah.
I mean, I was dabbling in it prior, but it really kind of just solidified that aspect. And, practicing on screen with clients, trying to walk through, well, hold on, back at it. You have to give physical direction. 2 steps back and to the right. I want to see what you have there. Like, it's a little more involved than just being on site and being able to go do it myself physically. But it's great because people can, they can check in when they need to, and we can do a quick tidy up, and they're just basically looking for me to give some direction or product recommendation, or we can go to town and I am back, working with clients in their home. I vet them a little bit differently now than I did before because I'm working, in close quarters. So I have to be careful. And there's PPE worn and everything else. So make sure we're both safe at the time. But it changes how you do business, but you just shift, right? Like everything, everyone's had to shift with all of this. So.
Yeah, I was going to say too, I mean, obviously we can talk a little bit about, I often say on the show, like the world ended in March of 2020, right? The world as we know it up until that point sort of shifted into what we've been experiencing for the last, I want to say 19 months, 20 months, whatever it's been now. So I want to get your thoughts on that too, but I also wanted to talk about, what you do and utilizing those services and getting folks to wrap their heads around the benefits of being organized. I mean, I consider myself to be a pretty organized guy. My wife, Carrie, keeps me on a pretty tight leash, so to speak. But
she's extremely organized. Yeah.
Oh my God, she's just
Not
like,
to say you aren't. I don't mean to
no,
say that, but I know she's
I've
got her
got
talents. That's all.
my friend. I would say I've gotten sloppy in fatherhood a bit. I say to Carrie, it's like I think my mental capacity since becoming a dad has been like, I always tell her I'm like I've got a glass every day and I can only fill it with so much before I start to pour over. But
That's a
yeah,
good
for
analogy.
folks.
Yeah.
Well, I try. I mean, I just feel like, and you know, you're a mom, you know, when you have
Yeah.
kids and you're just like, oh my
Yeah.
God, there's so much to process all the time. But so when folks want to get on that right page for organizing, I mean, some tips and tricks that you would, you know, kind of lend people to say, this is the way I can do things. This is the way you should be doing things. This is how it's going to benefit you. What would you recommend to them?
It's really on a case by case basis. So I go through a process where we have an initial consultation, usually over the phone, and I find out what they're looking for to make sure I'm the right fit, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
That what they're looking for is in my wheelhouse. And from there, we go with an initial consultation, and that's when I really see the space for myself. And I can picture what it is they're going to need. I tell them what they're going to need for our first appointment, or we just go right ahead and book it if it's a simple process, right? Some things are more in depth. So basically, it's very individualized, and it's not so much what I think they need. I mean, they'll ask me, but what I need to know from them is what are their expectations. You know, we don't have, it's not like the TV shows, right? I don't have people coming in working 24/7 around the clock to shoot this, and they're pulling the whole thing apart. It's the two of us working together, or myself working alone, depending. And you know, you have to set a reasonable expectation for that. But sometimes it's absolutely a wow factor for people. They're amazed at what a few hours can do of focused attention and expertise, and the right products, right? Because they get so overwhelmed they can't even see the forest for the trees, as we say. So, you know, having someone around like myself who can guide them through that process, it's all of a sudden clarity comes about and the weight's lifted and they feel, you know, okay, I've got a routine in place for my family. That the hardest part for most people is getting their families on board to
Mm-hmm.
contribute to it, because they feel all alone doing, you know, processing these systems in the house and setting them up, and they feel, you know, kiboshed a lot of times. So the hard part is usually families or other people living with you that have to adapt to the system. So I try and bring them on board at least for part of the session if I can, because when I'm talking to them directly, I get a feel for what they think about the process. How do they want to see the space, right? It has to be all encompassing. So it really is very based on personalities, habits, you know, what kind of family dynamic it is. If it's a single person, obviously that's a lot easier to maintain themselves. But it's very individualized, and that's what I love about it the most. It's never the same thing twice. It's always different. And I love that part about the process.
Why do you think people generally, not all people, but why do you think people get to the point where they're just so disorganized and it becomes just so, I don't want to say numbing, but, you know, it becomes like an issue?
Yeah. I mean, well, it gets very emotional. I have to say, when I'm working with clients, it's a very personal process. You know, you're sometimes you're just literally cleaning out the kitchen, and that's all there is. And I'm setting up that work triangle for them. And, you know, are you a chef? Are you a baker? You know, what do you prefer to do in the kitchen? Right. And we set up their kitchen accordingly to what they need to access the most. And when we're doing those things, that's easy. But when you get into things like the family room, or, you know, memorabilia, or even in their bedrooms, you know, something that's more personal, like their clothing every day. I mean, although it seems odd, it is a very personal thing. And, you know, you sort of have these emotional breakthroughs with people. I mean, literally, I've sat there crying with clients before, because it's just such an emotional process. They can make a real, as we talk and we kind of have that, you know, I try and listen to the cues they're giving me of childhood or whatever it may be as the reason why, you know, I try and get to the reason why they think this is happening. I don't tell them, because I'm meeting them for the first time and really having these conversations, but I'm listening to them telling me, oh, I grew up this way, or, you know, I never knew this, or we always had clutter around and it was just so stressful. So now I'm just throw everything out and I'm a minimalist, you know, whatever it may be that they're telling me. I work off of that, and we kind of work backwards and we figure out, okay, so the source of this is really that. And all that baggage has come forward, and it just keeps compiling until now we're sitting down and addressing it. And once that root issue is addressed and identified, that's where the breakthrough happens, and they're able to either let go of a lot of the clutter they've been keeping because it's really not giving them that feeling they thought it would, or the reason they thought they were keeping it was giving them some comfort or security. You know, their loved one is not in this dish. right? It's helping them to let go of past selves, past lives, past people, relationships, some of them harmful, and move on towards the future. And that's really what I also love about this job, is it's a bit of psychology, right? And it's fascinating and it's heartwarming to see people really have that emotional breakthrough. And those are the most fulfilling jobs to me, you know, when you're really affecting someone and changing their lives.
It's funny you should say that about the emotional connection. You know, one of my COVID projects, I should have took a photo of it. I'll send it to you after the show. But we moved out here into Amherstburg in 2018 after we got Liam home from sick kids. And we ended up building a new home. We love it. Yeah. It's in a very comfortable area of Amherstburg, but we have these closets that weren't necessarily, the space wasn't used correctly. And Carrie was on me like you would not believe to fix the closets. And I think you saw it. I think because I posted it that was one of my first round of COVID projects. I actually built walk-in closets, organizers, and I just got like the cheap Rubbermaid stuff from Home Depot. But we put some bells and whistles on it, and going through my closet at the time, going through a lot of the articles of clothing that I had, there's stuff that I was hanging on to, and it was like stuff when I was anchoring the news and stuff like that, and I was like, well, why am I keeping this again? I don't think I would ever wear this, but it's like I would feel very anxious even getting rid of it. And it's funny you should say that, because basement here where it's like got all my old stuff in it, stuff that quite honestly doesn't fit anymore, but it's stuff that was hanging in my closet. And it's funny how often we keep emotional connections to things and objects that we don't use. They're taking up space, and then I'm trying to jam new clothes in there and everything's getting wrinkled. It's funny you should say that.
And it just adds to time spent trying to get dressed in the morning, stress, because you're just fighting through clutter, really, things that and you're making your daily life more stressful, and really that can be put aside and then put aside and then put aside to the point where, you address it in the basement, like you said, and eventually you look and go, when was the last time? Like, why? Right. And women are notorious, but men do it too. You're right.
Oh, yeah.
And women are notorious for keeping the sizes above and below just in case and that kind of thing. And, I just did an organizing challenge this week. A friend of mine has she sells like a sporting goods clothing. And she asked me to chime in all week with a group that she has of women to try and, challenge them to organizing. So that's what we did. And we addressed this issue in one of the videos that I made for them. And just, take the pressure off yourself to be the size you were when you were in grade 12. A lot of people think like they're holding on to that piece, like it's the coveted piece they want to fit into. Well, that's not representative of who you are now. Our bodies shift with age. They change with children. They,
oh God, yes.
As we, right. And men and women, like it's,
oh, for sure.
And sometimes for the better. I mean, if you're really working on yourself, have at her. But you know what? The fun part of that is to reward yourself with new clothing too. So you're not going to go back to, unless it's a really expensive, Halston dress that's a classic, that you're able to, those are the pieces that's okay. Right. But something that really is never going to come. They never come back in the same way anyway. And I'm a nostalgic person. I have vintage pieces of, my mom's best friend, that I've kept a couple prom dresses that were made from the 50s, and I just adore them. But I revisit those, and I'm a huge Halloween person. So I keep things, for Halloween, right? That's okay. But I have a place for them. When I no longer, they will be filtered through, and I will purge as well when the time comes. But we hold on.
So we got to talk about.
Oh yeah.
I was just gonna say we got to talk about the Halloween stuff too, because I know that's a big passion of two of us, right? We got to talk about that. But you talk about you change when you become a parent. It's like, I was going through some of the clothes that I would wear on a daily basis during sort of a lot of my career pivots over the years, and I'd be wearing like 3-piece suits and ties. I always I have just an epic, what I thought it was an epic collection of ties from my time on television.
You always look sharp, yeah.
Oh, God bless. That was Carrie. Everybody would always say oh yeah. I mean, she would take me to Le Chateau, which I was bummed out. We actually went to Devonshire Mall the other day.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that Le Chateau was closed up. I was like, what? Yeah. Anyways, she used to get the ties from Le Chateaus and Marshalls and stuff, but I have them on one of those tie organizing racks, with the batteries. And I was looking at them, and she goes, Carrie goes to me, she goes, guys don't wear ties anymore. It's not fashionable. And I'm like, yeah, I could kind of see that, right? It's like, they're just wearing like the open button shirt.
Yeah. And they look sharp.
They do.
Weddings, right? It's much more casual than it used to be. Yeah. Even before COVID, weddings were more casual, I would say. for the most part, people were planning more, fun events than the formal ones.
That's right. And then when you talk about like the whole changing the body shape for parenting, it's like, for me, I was going through even some t-shirts and stuff like that. And Carrie was on my back over the last couple of days. She's like, you got to get some, like, I just don't like trying on clothes in stores. I don't. I just have like a whole phobia, right? I mean, I'll do it at Marshall's. I like to go. I'm one of the guys that likes to go to HomeSense, goes to Marshall's, and goes to Winners. I will go with Carrie. She'll get mad though, because as soon as we get in, I make a beeline for the men's section and she goes over to the women, and then we kind of meet up halfway through, right? But yeah, I go through my clothes, and it's just funny to see, like, I'm very comfortable wearing my superhero shirts around the house, right? Like, and Liam wears them too. But I mean, I think your tastes change with age, and if you can do that, that's a decent thing to kind of start to go through your clothes and, I guess, store them, right? Because you never, I mean, you store some or get rid of them or donate.
All of the above. You can consign, you can donate. Proms, right? There's big movement of prom dresses for girls that are donated usually in May and June.
Sure.
So the formal gowns, consignment works well. A lot of people use Marketplace, they can sell them. But, the special ones, just, you're entitled to keep some that really represent something in your life. Like for guys, it's different with the suit, right? For women with the dress, there might be that certain occasion they had. But generally, there's nothing clothing wise that's that important to keep, because again, it's holding on to something for what purpose, right? If it's, you're not going to these events anymore, you're comfortable in the shirts and everything you're wearing, right, around the house and even out, because those are appropriate to go out in, they're fun. Then, just the less you have to go through, the more joy there is in dressing, because you don't have to pick through everything to figure it out. It is more stressful, right? The mix and match. So I've gone to much more simpler outfits, where they're, especially for, I kind of view it as traveling all the time. I look at my wardrobe, I do have a lot of different clothes, but I view things as, how would this travel? How would this pack? How would I be able to mix and match, right? Those kind of things. So that's kind of what I keep in mind for, especially my work clothing. I used to have a whole closet full of things. I think, oh yeah, if I go to because I did, training for employees, coaching, I do business workshops and things like that. So, but the percentage of my job that does that versus the residential, my closet is actually flipped on that one. So I realized that I'm like, wait a minute. Okay. How many, suits or whatever do I really need here? So I whittled it right down, picked my favorites, and I just kept that. And it's much better. I feel much better about it. It's easier.
Let's get to a few comments here in the feed. This one's coming from LinkedIn. My friend Laura says, I need Karen in my life. You'd be surprised. Laura, like, I got to tell you, she does wonders, right? And I mean, you must have that like come to Jesus moments, right? Where people call you Karen and they're like, oh God, like at some point, it's not about like they get to the point where like, I just need somebody to kind of streamline things. And I guess that's where you come in and you're like, okay, everybody chill. I got this. I know what I'm doing. Let's make it work for you.
There is that moment. And when people call, they're usually kind of in either a panic, because they're so nervous I'm going to actually come to the house and see it, right? Talking about it is one thing. And I'm like, listen, you already made the first step by calling. So leave it the way it is, because I need to see what the problem actually is. Don't clean up before I come. I need to see where the problem areas are and for you to walk it. And believe me, I've seen it all. So I try and put them at ease, because I feel like they think I'm going to be going, oh, really? Okay. And that's not what happens when I'm at their house. I can really see the areas. You can feel it. It's almost palpable. The energy in the air and between us, like I can feel how stressed they are. Their shoulders kind of go up and they kind of have this look of fear. Like they're showing me, they're showing me the inner sanctum of their life, right? So they get very anxious, but I assure them, this is my job. And quite frankly, I kind of love it, because that's the challenge. And I get to see, ooh, goody, I can see where we're going to head with this. I start visualizing, and then I try and explain that to them. And then they kind of go, oh, really? We can solve this? And yeah, we can. So,
and then it's getting those processes in place, right? And getting people to kind of like, it's like you're wiping off like a whiteboard, and you want a clean slate, and you want to develop those processes so they, like you said, they can tackle life, spend less time on trying to figure stuff out, and just grab it and go in some cases.
Yep, definitely. Simplify where you can. And, I follow a few sites that are minimalist sites, but the majority of people just don't have that mindset, nor could they be. I couldn't be a minimalist. Right. I enjoy decor to some extent. I enjoy, different variety with clothing and things like that. But again, it doesn't mean you can't take some of those principles and apply them. They make a lot of sense because it really is about clearing your headspace too, right? Everything around you affects the inward and vice versa, right? What's in here affects the outward. So, usually your space is indicative of something that's going on within. And that's where that psychological portion of it comes in. But for a percentage of my clients, it literally is just, listen, the pantry's out of hand. We're a family of 5 running every which way. Can you just come in and tweak it? And that's as simple as it gets sometimes, right? It's not that there's anything wrong. It's just daily living, and everyone has those things. I have areas I keep in a contained basket or whatever until I know I can address it. At least it's contained, right? It's not that everything's in its place at all times and I live like you can't walk on the vacuum marks. It's not like that, right? That's not a great way to live.
Your furniture is not wrapped in plastic, is what you're saying,
no,
right?
I assure you, it is not. No.
And then you turn the camera on.
I'm not moving the camera. No, I'm just kidding.
I got to tell you, sorry, you'd appreciate this, right? I know, like when my wife, because I know you're on my wife and I's personal Facebook, right? So I know when my wife posts Carrie different things that she's done. 2 things that she did recently. One was she's in this whole, our house is like white. It's pure white inside. There's some splashes of like wood. I'm going to send you a picture of Liam's room too. Like I will say this, Carrie did a pretty badass job on Liam's room. I was really impressed.
I've seen like on the videos in the door and it looks beautiful, but I haven't seen it. Yeah, you guys send me that.
Oh yeah. I'll send you a picture after we're done, or probably tomorrow. Cause I think the Peanut's sleeping now, but we did like this whole black and white theme, and like people are like, oh, it's going to be so clinical, but like, oh my God, I love his room so much. It's cute and it's manageable too. Like people are like, he's going to destroy it. But with Carrie, she recently got into like the whole wood accent thing, and she ended up getting like this coffee table, and it's like made out of the teak wood. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
That type of wood. And she's like, oh, it's really cool. And then Liam and I, because we're men and we're a little bit slobby, like I'll have my coffee or something and I'll put it on the table, and it's like it leaves like not a stain, but it's like the wood absorbs it, and it's like anything. Like Liam will have like a cracker and put it down and it'll absorb it. So I swear to God, like I'm scrubbing that damn table every 5 minutes. And then I told her, I said, like, why don't we just get a piece of plastic, put it on top? And it's like, she's like, no, this is the style. And I'm like, oh my God, this is, with a toddler and a man-child, this is probably not the best table to have. Like we're playing Switch upstairs, Liam and I, and it's like, we're like terrified to put it on the table because God, like it was expensive enough. But do you see, I guess my question to you is, do you see that, like that style of the wood kind of creeping in? I see that in a lot of like the magazines and things, and some some other homes, like that's the wood with the accenting, because
it adds when the white is very pure, right, and the wood adds a softness and a warmth to it. It makes it more of a living space, right, when you have natural elements like that combined with the white, which is beautiful because your backdrop is always so it's always so bright and so homey. I love that. It's really very uplifting, your house, with the colors and everything. So the wood makes it, it's that much warmer, and it is just that contrast against it. So it is nice, but it is.
I've learned.
Maybe you can just buy a piece of plastic and put it when you and Liam are there, and take it out.
We bought like a Mickey Mouse and Batman placemats from Walmart, so we put it around in a circle on the table.
Funny.
So anytime we're like having crackers or anything, or playing Mario Kart or anything, we just put it out. But
now teak, I will say, if it is teak, it's very hardy. It's on boats, and it's an outdoor wood, so it will absorb, but it kind of gives it character too. But it is a very tough wood. So
okay, good to know, because like I'm just like, I've got like a wet rag ready to go, like anytime. Fiona says here on Facebook for you, Karen, she goes, I love purging. Like she loves to purge. Would you call what you do purging? Is that part of the process?
Oh, it's a word I use all the time because it is very important to the process. It was a big word that I used actually with this group all week, was purging, right? People buy bins, they buy everything, think it's going to solve the problems ahead of time. And then they end up with, okay, my clients will call it, well, I've got 20 bins ready to go, because they bought them, but they don't maybe choose the right ones, right? So I always say, okay, square one is purging. So we need to sort and purge down. And you'd be very surprised when we're working together, because I'll question you on, not challenge you, but okay, so just make you think through, why am I keeping this? Why do I have 3, apple peelers? Why do I have, all these things that just accumulate in the kitchen drawers, for instance, and you don't really know why, but when you have to answer to someone, you're like, yeah, okay, so we put that aside. We just did this, and a client of mine she purged 20 coffee cups, and at the beginning she's like, oh, we already purged, we're not purging anything. And by the time I left, we had 3 huge boxes full. from the kitchen.
Oh my God.
So it's everyone's always surprised. They don't make you get rid of things. It's not an uncomfortable process where I'm forcing it, but it is just, you know, kind of walking you through the actual being cognitive of why you're keeping something. And then the purging is where the real change happens, because once you get rid of everything, then you can really see everything for what it is. And you have room to breathe, and you can put things back, and you'll find the orderly system. You're not fighting over clutter to grab that favorite mug, you know, over 16 mugs you've collected because everybody gave you one that's all different. So you have your favorites, and that's all you need. You only have one coffee a day, right? Or you refill that mug. Like, there's only so many people in the house. There's only so many days a week. Even the dishwasher's full. Most people have more than enough. So it's that kind of philosophy. It's the same with clothing, right? There's only so many days in a week. So
I love that analogy too. And I know Carrie is always on me because I'm a sucker for comic book mugs and pop culture mugs too. But yeah, I have to go through that too. It's like I have probably 2-3 coffees a day, and then at night I usually have a tea. And it's one of those things. It's like, instead of me using 4 or 5 different coffee mugs, it's like, you know, use 1 or 2, and then we can free some of the clutter. Like, we literally have shelves of coffee mugs at our place. Like, we have a whole cabinet full, and
yes,
it's like
people do.
Yeah, and it's like we never have that many people over to warrant coffee.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
but
we're never going to have 30 people.
Collection, you know, everybody does have like a collection, it seems, of something, whatever it may be for them, right? They have their independent little, and they don't view it as a collection, but once we categorize it, they actually see it's kind of a collection, but it could be scattered here and there. So, I mean, if they're actual collectibles and things like that, you can rotate them too. They can go into storage, but really, once things go into storage, it's the abyss, right? So unless they're seasonal and you know that you're going to pull them out, if they're down in storage, unless it's an off-season item or something like, you know, in the kitchen, like a big pot to cook corn that you only use in August, right? Something like that. Yeah. Okay. You're going to store that in your basement if you don't have a pantry space. But other things like those they go there to die, as they say, you know, things go to the basement to die sometimes, to the storage rooms. That's when, you know, you should probably, some people move, they don't even arms unpack a box. It's been for 20 years, and they're like, I'm just going to throw this. And I say, well, let's just double check it, because we found jewelry in there. We found family heirloom paper. We found legal documents. Like, I'm all for but let's just take a quick look through it, right? But I'm amazed at people who do actually have boxes they've not unpacked when they've moved years ago. So.
And it's like, obviously stuff it's not top of mind, like you said, right? So it's like, unless it's like some sort of like huge memento, even then you'd probably want to display it prominently. It's like, maybe it's time to pitch it. So
either display it or at least store it in a safer place than a box in a basement, which floods often around our area, right? Or there's, you know, little critters in the basement, whatever it may be. You want to at least honor that, and then we package it up properly. So that's another big tip for people. Make sure whatever you're storing, you know, whether it's up or down, like add heat, you know, it gets vicious, especially this summer. Everyone's fully aware of the heat right now. It'll ruin things. You know, if you have pictures in the attic, it's very common for people to put them in, you know, their coves of their roof off their rooms upstairs, and they get ruined. So be very careful with your mementos.
You know, one thing I wanted to talk to you about, Karen, and get your insight on this, and I guess your opinion on this too, is, you know, when COVID hit in March of 2020, and there was that big shift for a lot of folks that were able to, and in many cases blessed to, work from home. I mean, I think that really, from a professional organizer standpoint like yourself, I mean, very much for me, especially, certainly in my position now, like I'm like 95% work from home. So I had to kind of sort of hobble this office that I've got together. Like, everyone thinks that this is brick. This is not brick. This is actually just like a picture backdrop I got off Amazon. It's like unfinished basement behind this, right?
That's awesome though. But that's the name of the game, right?
Right. And it's just like, for all the Zoom calls I'm on. Yeah. They're like, oh my God, you're in a brick, nice office. Like, no, dude, this is just because I want to finish my basement eventually. But
perfect.
What did you see from that lens, from a professional organizing lens, that, you know, a lot of folks had to sort of hobble down these offices, and especially if they were now permanently working from home full time, you know, that's got to be a big mindset too, because I know for me personally, it's like, you have to have your dedicated workspace where you can get things done.
Yeah. It was a big, that's what I was posting on when all of that was kind of going down. I realized that clients needed to know how to set up a home office. That's one thing. So I went on, I think it was the week after, I'm not even sure when it was. It was initially, I think it was in March of 2020. And I just did a post and said, listen, everybody's reeling from this right now. I don't know what I can do to help, but I just feel like I have something I can give you guys. So this is what I'm going to focus on. Let me know what you want to hear about. And I kind of just went on for the first video I did, because I'm not really comfortable in front of the camera. I did a video just saying, listen, I want to help you guys, and I have the means to do it. I have the knowledge to do it. So tell me what you need, because you have to set up these home offices, and you're trying to deal with homeschooling kids for a lot of people. And they had spaces like only the kitchen, right? If you don't have the luxury of an extra room in a house, or a finished basement, like you said, or even a basement, as a matter of fact, with a lot of houses, and you're on top of each other, and you're trying to govern it was just so stressful for people to shift gears, and their Wi-Fi was cutting out, and all these things that they, I was trying to give them control over what they could change and make it a little bit better. So then you give tips like the rolling carts for the kids' school, right? Which you could roll away at the end of the school day, and you'd have your kitchen table back, right? It doesn't need to be utter and sheer chaos in the house. You can find a quiet corner and set up, a long piece of plywood onto even workhorses. It doesn't matter, just something to put your computer on so you can have meetings, as those progress. So everybody's pretty settled in now to what obviously that would be and look like. But yeah, it was utter, just so many stressful messages from people like, oh, I don't know what to do with this. Can you help me with that? So that's some of the virtual work that I did, was kind of have people walk me around their homes with the camera and just show me. And I said, okay, like there was a little spot under the stairs for one person, and there was a whole bunch of junk, like suitcases and everything piled in there. I said, that's your space. You can run an extension cord, put a little light. It's a little alcove. You put a rug in there to absorb the noise. And you put even a little, one of those dinner table, the collapsible ones. You can, the little tray tables, right? With your laptop on it, if need be. And there you go. At least you have a little section to yourself. It doesn't need to be elaborate. So just trying to think outside the box for people was challenging, but it was at least gave me purpose during that, which felt good, that I could try and help people figure it out.
Yeah, I just think it's, with a lot of folks, they were able to, adjust to, and this term was used for like so often as the new normal. And it's like, before we were talking on the air tonight, we were just talking about, some of the benefits that, folks that are able to work from home are able to enjoy. And, it just imagines, like, for me personally, the amount of work that I like to get done and I'm able to be flexible with has enabled me to spend more time with my son, cut my commute time down to negligible differences, and be available to feel more refreshed to do better work. And I think it's, as we head forward in the next 10 years, I think that's going to be a big paradigm shift for folks, right? To sort of have their family life and have their work life. And for a long time, it's like, people would say, oh, you have to have your separation. And, I don't think those 9-to-5 jobs technically are there anymore. I think they are, but no, not a lot. But I think that if you're able to, because I have the flexibility, I have no problem hopping on and doing an hour's work on Saturday, right? If something needs to get done or something comes up, or if I have to talk to a client or something. But it's just funny how I think now that the pandemic has sort of highlighted that, or even accelerated that sort of hybrid approach, I think it's worked for a lot of folks. And it's been a challenge for a lot of folks too, but I think it has been very beneficial for a lot of families. Definitely.
People have really described, whether it's friends or clients have said to me, it's amazing how my boss has realized how productive I am, given that I have now this flex time. Essentially, I'm working from home, but I can work if, again, their natural rhythm, right, of the day. This is what I often tell people, is you got to work during your natural rhythm, right? When you get in the flow, if you're a night owl, then plan that project for then, because that's when you're most, clear, active, energized. But some people are morning people, so they can get up at 7, whereas they wouldn't be going into the office and starting until 9. So you've lost 2 hours of productivity for that person then, whereas they can do that from home and get all this done because they have a laptop and they're not disturbing anybody. So they're not going to drive into the office 2 hours early, but they're going to, they could easily do that if they're working from home. So their bosses have realized, and again, countries in Europe have been doing this a lot longer, right? They have much longer vacation times for employees. They have they mandate time off, hours of the day to work. They shut down for longer hours, some countries during the day for midday breaks. And because they realize that the productivity is the output, for the input, it's amazing what they're getting from, and loyalty too. They don't get burnout from their employees, right? Their employees are more dedicated to the companies that are kind of working with them and giving them this benefit. So we're kind of, obviously we've been known, the Western, you know, we've been known for working workaholics, right? It's somehow it's a badge of honor to work, you know, 60, 70, 80 hours a week. I don't know when that became a thing. It's just like the, you know, the concept of busyness. Why is it such a bragging right to how busy you are? That's just makes me sad that you don't have time to do the things that you want to do in life, right? That you're bragging somehow that your life is so busy you have no time to do these things. That's not admirable. That's awful, because we all enter a phase in life, especially with kids and sports, and you know, we're a little bit of it out of our control and we do it for our kids, but that should be an enjoyable part of it. I mean, the running back and forth sometimes can get to you, but it shouldn't be where if it's running out of control on your calendars, just something needs to shift here, because you're going to burn out and you're not even seeing the enjoyment of that anymore. And it's just pure chaos. So this kind of, you know, the unfortunate thing, obviously about COVID's obvious, but one of the benefits was it really brought family into focus for a lot of people.
Oh, for sure.
And that's exactly what you're saying. You're present with Liam, right? If you were working the way it was, you'd have been out of the home more and wouldn't have seen him as much. And I mean, these are precious years. You don't get that back. So we all feel guilt when we work anyway, but it really has allowed families to have more quality time, because even if you're working, you're just more refreshed. You're not exhausted, you know, as much. I just felt like it's been, for a lot of people, at least, who are, like you said, blessed to have that option to work from home and not have been let go or have other issues due to COVID, they're able to have that lifestyle. And that's really been kind of a nice thing.
Yeah. And I think you hit the nail bang on, Karen. It's one of those things where I think, you know, some of the more progressive employers see that, and they see that in their employees. And, you know, one of the things I've found have been so crucial too, is like when I have, quote unquote meetings with folks, it's like, you know, we try to keep it under 15 minutes. Especially in the virtual world too. You know, it's like that Google mentality. And by no means do I have an MBA. I've never gone to school for anything, master of anything, right? But I do know that, you know, when you sit down and you have some folks and you're on a team, it's like, okay, what do we got? Let's go around the horn. And, you know, what do you need help with? What can I assist with? How are we moving this? What's the end date on that? Over the next, you know, pivot to the next. And I think when people are able to, because I mean, for a while there was that Zoom exhaustion, right? Everybody's on a Zoom call for whatever it was. And it's actually when I started the show, Carrie, my wife, she goes, "It's not going to be like Zoom, is it?" And I said, "Well, no, we're going to have like cool little graphics and interaction, hopefully from the audience and things." I said, you know, because I think people are kind of zoomed out, you know. And then I think I actually, funny story, I was on a call. This was it was like a group. It was a massive group meeting for a charity group here locally. And God bless them, they do great work. But it was just funny because, you know, it was like going into overtime. It was like an hour and a half. And they were trying to do a presentation and somebody couldn't find, they didn't know how to share a screen, which whatever, right?
Okay.
Whatever. And you could just see the people start dropping off the call. Because the guy couldn't share the screen. It was like very cringy. Yeah. But it's just funny how technology also it's good, but it's also a double-edged sword, right?
Oh yeah, it can do you in. I mean, we all know that the social media aspect of certain things, sometimes it just gets to be overwhelming with negative stuff. That's why shows like yours, which you're bringing, there's a lightness to it, and I enjoy that. I have actually sought out more shows like yours that really, you know, you have people on, it's interesting to talk to. It's local, which is amazing because there's so many people in Windsor. It's just an incredible city, right? And Essex County. I just feel like we've got so much talent, so much to offer here, that I love that this is, you know, about that. But it's all good stuff. It's not focusing on the negative, and there's a lot of social media that does. So this is one of the beacons. So this is nice.
Well, my friend, I appreciate that, you know, and I tell people all the time, like I miss having these on-air conversations. And, you know, when I was doing the radio gig, I don't want to say I was handicapped, but it was hard. We'd have to hit commercial breaks. We'd have to, I'd be at the mercy of a program director who might have a different idea or a different lens. And now it's funny. It's like, really, it's like whoever I want to bring on, I'm bringing on, and we can talk for as long as we want about whatever we want. Right. Yeah. And I, you know, when I made the move over to the public broadcaster, I was very neutered in what I could do. And I'll use that term because it's the public broadcaster, right? You're, you know, tax dollars are paying the public broadcaster salary. So you have to be very impartial, but I've never subscribed to that over the years too about, I think you can ask hard questions of people. I think you can have difficult conversations with people, but you're right. Windsor's a small enough
Respectfully,
town.
you can have that
100%.
respectfully.
100%.
Yeah.
Windsor's a small enough town that you can at least have that respect for your neighbor. And,
Yep.
you can also hold people accountable, but you don't have to be, apparently you don't have to be an ass about it.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of folks, especially in the
There's
social
an art
media,
to that, though.
yeah, I mean, I had Morgan from 96.7 on. She's a good friend of my wife's too. And I love Morgan. I think she's so talented, so funny. And Morgan was like teasing me because like I pulled an Oprah on her. She called it. I got all emotional and she got all choked up. Her and her sister Kendall. And she's like, Arms, you're pulling an Oprah. And I like doing stuff like that. Like not to say like, hi, I got you. I'm going to make you feel this. But if I can have that conversation with somebody like you and I had, that's why like when I pitched you to come on the show, I was like, I know it's going to be great because you've always been fantastic anytime I've done any kind of interview with you. So,
well, it's just easy, right? There's a chemistry between people. And if you had that emotion with them, that means that there's that chemistry, right? Which is what you want when you have a guest, and you miss that face to face, being able to see people.
Oh, for sure.
So to have it like this is really kind of, it says a lot about the way you bring people through the conversation. There's a certain amount of, obviously everyone gets a little bit nervous being on camera. You do it for a living, but it's still you. The one thing I told everybody was like, oh, are you nervous about today? I'm like, actually, no, because I know Arms has got it. If there's any kind of, I mean, we never run out of things to talk about, you and I, that's for sure. But if there is a lull, you always bring it through. And I know that you got me covered. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I've always appreciated. I always used to put you, and I still do, put you in the book. I used to call them Jose Canseco guests, and I'm not a sports guy. And I used to say this to Beller when I had Steve on.
Wow.
Or a Jose Canseco guest would be somebody where if somebody bailed on me on radio, and it happened many times. And I hate doing stuff pre-recorded because like even Carrie, when doing the show, Carrie's like, why don't you just record the show? And I said, well, then that sucks because it's like, I don't want recorded, man. Like I'd rather have people live and I want people in the moment. I want to spend time with folks, but when you're doing that and you do it in the moment, you can have those conversations. But with a Jose Canseco guest is like, people would bail on me and it's like, okay, well, I got to figure out something to talk about for an hour. And then I would be able to call you or text you and then say, hey, can you come on? We'll talk about this. I saw this in the news. Maybe we can kind of talk that. And you come on and all of a sudden it's like, bam, it's an hour's gone by. You're like, holy crap.
Like, I know. Every time you're like, okay, that's a wrap. I'm like, what? We're done. Oh, we're done. Yeah, we're done. That's it. And Kim comments on Facebook and she says, you guys are great. So Kim, thank you so much for that comment. You, Kim.
It's
nice.
Yeah. And thank you for, I should say this again, Karen, for being a part of the show and always being so gracious to my family and I too. I think it's, you've always been a good friend. And I think, this show, I really want it to be about, good things in Windsor, talking with people in Windsor, talking about people even from outside of the city and just talking about that good news. Like I was joking around with Carrie when I was trying to pitch the show to her to do this, because I've been kind of mulling to do a podcast like this since I left the CBC. So it's been a while. And I said to her, I go, look at this, like, John Krasinski, not to say that it would ever get like John Krasinski, but the guy, during the pandemic starts some good news on YouTube. Right.
Yeah. Wasn't that great? That was such a great show.
Oh my God. And he had a great time. And look at CBS picks it up. And like, not to say that would happen, but I'm just saying like, I would watch it and I would smile. And I'm like, man, there's like, you turn on the news now and it's like negative after negative after negative after negative after negative. And here's a story. We don't know why mental health is on the decline. Well, it's like,
it's perpetuating.
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm not saying you can't keep your head in the sand.
No.
Yeah.
No, you can be informed, but I kind of restrict what's incoming now to make sure A, that it's a reliable source, but B, that it's news that I need to have about my local world, right? Mm-hmm. And then of course, world events. I don't, like you said, want to have my head in the sand, but I also choose to have my feed full of things that are uplifting because I just find it does make a difference. I've talked to a lot of people through this and it's just the more I kind of shut down, I have my time of day, I check obviously my social media and whatnot, interact with people. But after that, I find, I'm much happier in my garden or wherever. I go and do things that clear my head, right? When I'm feeling that way. And I think we've all felt like that definitely over the last year and a half, if we're honest with ourselves. We've all gone through a downturn emotionally of some kind, depending on whether it's here or here, it doesn't matter. The point is, hopefully you'll have something that you can go to and turn to for to get yourself out of that.
Yeah, and again, you hit the nail on the head. Like I was saying it to Jeff Burrows. I had Burrows on last week, and
Yeah.
Jeff was talking to me about some of the things that he does in his downtime, and I said, for me, during the pandemic, I've really appreciated and rediscovered my love of video games. I'm going to be turning 40 this year, and it's like, Liam's at that age now where he's starting to get interested in them. But like I've gone through like a whole library. I've had like stacks of things, and I just it allows me to kind of chill out. Carrie has her shows that she catches up on. She's getting into reading.
Yep.
But you're right. It's like taking advantage of those times that you have just to kind of reset and repurpose yourself. And then I should say this. One of the things that I know you and I have a mutual passion for, and it's coming so quickly, is talking about is the season of Halloween. So I got to tell you, you got to tell us, like, your costumes are always on point. I see them on Facebook. You guys go just all out for this. Yeah. How did you to love this season of Halloween?
Oh, I don't even know. I have a picture. Oh, I don't have it with me, of my grandmother. And it was about 1918 of her in her little witch's outfit. And I think I'm very much like my grandmother in a lot of ways. We're very artistic and creative, and I, she was always like, she loved fashion, and she was modeled before and things like that. She's a very interesting woman, and my grandfather too. And I think, that kind of tweaked my interest, but I always loved horror movies and things when I was a teenager, and I loved Halloween and decorating my room for it and everything else. And I think it just grew from there, fascination with all of those things. And I love photographing, different things when we're away, old churches, cemeteries, different things. I just think they're so peaceful and fascinating. But Halloween's just fun, right? It's not a dark thing. It's always just been fun and light for me. So we've had a Halloween party for, it would have been the 25th, this coming October, our 25th party in a row at the house. And we decorate inside and outside. And it's always been a blast, and there's usually a theme, and we haven't repeated a theme yet to my knowledge. So it's kind of disappointing. COVID put a negative on that, but it happened to everybody at least. And, the kids were able to go out last year, so that was nice. So I still decorated outside, but not as much inside, and I kind of missed that. But yeah, we're going to be decorating soon, but this heat is not making me feel very festive, Arms.
No, I was outside
it's
today. Oh, okay. Here's the thing, but is it okay? Is it? Let me ask you this: is it that early? Because Carrie's like, you're freaking nuts. And okay, so you know me, I'm all over Facebook. I'm somewhat fluid on Instagram. I've returned to Twitter a little bit. I really love LinkedIn, and I know I am a big fan of LinkedIn from a professional lens and a personal lens too. But I will say this: I am on TikTok. I've not posted anything. No, I have not. I don't know if I want to crack that sucker open. I'm a creeper. I will sit there and I will creep the TikTok, right? The TikTok, like that's how old I am. Like I'm on the TikTok. But like on TikTok, I'm on the Facebook making the messages. Long story short, I'm on there, and like I know the States has they get different things, right? I get that. Lowe's in the States already has their Halloween stuff out. And they have like we do a Disney theme at our house every year.
I know, I love it.
Since Liam was born. And every year, the first year we got him home from Sick Kids and we were out here, we did a blow up Mickey on the front. That's like Dracula. Okay, fine. And then last year I went like nuts. It's total like Nightmare Before Christmas.
I love it.
And then this year Disney has more inflatables that are coming out, like the Haunted Mansion inflatables and all that kind of stuff. Right? And I'm like, I go to Karen, I'm like, I need to get my hands. Like every year I want to add something to the house. And she's like, oh my God.
We're running out of real estate to put it on.
Oh, for sure. I'm like, I'm going to go on the roof, put some sandbags up there. And she's like, you're freaking nuts. Like, what are you doing right now? Right.
Oh man.
So Lowe's in the States actually has all this cool stuff like the Haunted Mansion. And I've been going into the city when Liam goes to bed at night. I go into the city a couple times a week. I literally go to Lowe's on Provincial, and then I go to Home Depot, and I'm in the seasonal section, and I'm looking, and I'm like, excuse me, sir, do you know when you're putting out the Halloween stuff? And he's like, oh my God, that Arms guy is here again. Seriously. And he's like, we have to get rid of the clearance first, and we're going to be putting it out. And I'm like, I literally said to him, I'm like, you see this TikTok? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, this is Lowe's in the States. Do you know if you guys are going to have any of this stuff? He's like, you're such a weirdo.
So now
But
your
like, I need
picture's
to
at the
like,
door. Don't let this guy in.
yeah.
You're like the
Like, oh my God,
open lady on
open.
the.
And I'm just against the glass. I'm like, you guys got any yet? You know? I
Hello?
just, because you know why? It's that scarcity. Because I know last year it was a weird deal for
Yeah,
Halloween. Like when you were saying, because like I don't think retailers knew if it was going to go down, and if it was going to go down, should they fully stock?
it was
And
weird.
it was a
It
weird
was
deal,
weird.
right?
Yeah.
But I mean,
Michael's
I can't
has
wait.
stuff out. Michael's has stuff
They
out
do?
already. Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna try to go.
Yeah. I saw
Carrie's
them
working tomorrow. Maybe
advertise for it, so
I'm
maybe
gonna
it's
maybe
coming. But check on that. Yeah.
okay,
If you're over near
because I
Walker,
gotta
you can
get some
check it out.
stuff. And then I've been bad.
Probably
Like,
has some.
yeah, we went to Home
Just
Sense
saying.
this week, and they have
Maybe
some
they just
stuff.
have
And then
fall or Halloween.
yeah, they have like that weird
Okay.
Halloween transition that they do from like Harvest, where they have the pumpkins that say like bountiful and like grateful. You know what I
You
mean?
say
Like,
that like it's a bad thing, Arms.
no, but it's like Carrie was looking at him when we were at the thing, and then I turned the corner and she's got a cart full of these, and I'm like, eh. Like, okay,
That
and
is
she's like, but it
not
says,
what we're
it says,
about.
yeah. I'm like, I want like the fangs and like the lights and stuff, and she's like, blessed and like home, and I'm like, okay, but like we have signs with that already everywhere.
I
But
have one that says grateful, and then I spin it around, and I put
oh,
my
because
own
then it's
stick.
like
So I have I've learned to make dual purpose signs. Then I can just flip.
nice.
But I feel
Very
like you're the
nice.
Clark Griswold of Halloween maybe now.
I love that. Thank you. I'm like very, very
That's your
honored.
new title.
I'm the Clark Griswold of Halloween. We have actually a new neighbor beside us, and he actually
Oh.
lived down the street from us, and he moved into the house beside us, and he's been in the neighborhood for longer than us. And he says, yeah, I go, how do you like the house? Because it's a bigger house than he moved into. He goes, oh, the kids love it. And he goes, hey, when are you going to put up your Halloween stuff? And I go, oh, how do you know? He's like, my daughters were really excited because like, Dad, we're moving beside the crazy Halloween guy's house. And I'm like, okay, I'll take that. That's good. We actually
Carrie,
started
order you a shirt now. You need that on your shirt as you're decorating.
oh my God. She would be like, she's already told me to calm down on like the decorating, but she'd probably order me a shirt for sure. But we started to build like a sign because I can't find like a sign, but I want to make a sign that says welcome to Halloween Town. So Liam and I were taking some old deck wood that we had, and we built kind of like a spooky, it looks like a decrepit sign. And I have a friend who does graphics that's going to put welcome to Halloween Town in the font from Nightmare Before Christmas on it.
Sweet.
Yeah, so I just love it. Like you said, like I never considered myself to be a handy guy, but as COVID went on and I was doing smaller and bigger projects, I'm starting to learn how to use a drill properly, the saw, all that kind of stuff. So it's fun.
Good for you. It is fun, and that's what we were doing too. We did some household projects and things, and it was kind of nice because that's what we used to do. We renovated 2 houses now and ourselves, and it's fun to do these things together, right? And Carrie's a good planner as well, and but for Halloween in particular, I think the thing that we probably love the most is the creative aspect, right? It's like no holds barred. Like Christmas is tactful around here, right? It's like, do you do this with Christmas or Easter? And I'm like, no. Like it's very, it's very nice looking. It's elegant looking. It's not, but Halloween, I mean, I have a full-size coffin with a 6-foot skeleton at the front door, right? It's built out of barnwood. This thing's, it was the greatest find ever. So
that's amazing. Did you see last year they had at Home Depot the 12-foot skeletons that you could buy? They were like all over. They were all the rage, and they were like massive. They're like $400, and I was looking at it, and it was a little bit too spooky for like our theme. But Carrie's like, if you ever came home with that, I would kill you.
There's 12 in a thing.
Yeah, it's like it's literally like 12 feet tall. It's massive. It's plastic. It's not. Yeah,
I've seen a couple houses with him. Yeah, I think my husband, that would be no, because he curses every time he has to move that coffin to the basement.
It's like,
and it's the only thing. Everything else I do, but that's the one thing I have to ask them to do is move him and the coffin, and it's like heavy. So yeah, I don't think that would go over very well if I a 12-footer.
You were saying that you guys you're pretty tactful for Christmas. So like for us for Christmas, like Carrie, we have like agreement. We're inside. She has complete decor control of inside, and she does an amazing job for Christmas. I will not say that. But then outside, we have this weird amalgamation of my inflatables, which I have a lot of them, and they're all Disney themed. And then we have like, she likes the warm LED lights. So we have a lot of that decoring, but it's this weird thing. But do you guys do the more, I would say, like not traditional, but like nice design? Right? You're not putting like
Yeah. Well,
inflatables
first
on
of
your
all, I'll
front lawn.
correct you there in saying we, because there is no we in my house. It's there's a day where I'll say to my husband, okay, I could do it, and often I have, but I'm like, I'm going to give you the one job of hanging the Christmas lights. So,
Nice.
you know, we redid our landscape and our bushes aren't too big, so I don't have the lights on the bushes, but like we used to, but they're along the house. So he does that. But yeah, that's about it. And then bringing in the Christmas tree, and after that, everything. That's about the 2 jobs. So I wouldn't say it's a we process, but I kind of have carte blanche, which is like the benefit of all of that. He doesn't really say boo to much. He doesn't say, you know, like, no. But Halloween,
so you just yeah,
kind of.
Oh, that's
yeah.
So okay, then we'll have to trade like
Halloween too. Back to organizing.
Did you?
I purged a huge amount and just got rid of like a bundle for a one set price on Marketplace, and got rid of like the last 2 years, because I went down to things that make a big impact, but they go down to like this, right? So there's tricks and trades I do in the house of things that make big impacts, lighting and not the cobwebs that stretch, but like more the net type ones.
Sure.
And I cut them and dyed them with tea and all that, and they go everywhere. And it's just a quick and easy way to get a lot of impact for a little bit of storage room. So I've kind of gone more to that stuff, more actual like haunted mansion official looking stuff, right? Yeah.
I love like the Haunted Mansion for me, like at Disney is like, it's up there in like my favorite rides. Like when I went, the first time I went to Disney in 2017, after Carrie and I got married, that was like our 1 year kind of anniversary.
Yeah.
I was so like anti-Disney for so long. I was not anti-Disney, but I was like, it's for kids, whatever. Oh my God, loved it so much. And then we took Liam in 2019. And we went on the Haunted Mansion, and I mean, he was young. He was about 1.5 years, but I love the Haunted Mansion. It's like an awesome ride.
It's magical.
It's one of my faves.
I don't care how old
fun.
you are. Like I was, okay, this will date me, but I was 1 when that park opened in Florida. And we went because my grandparents used to go to Florida every year, and that was our annual vacation. So we'd go down and we'd go to the park with my grandparents. So I feel like I kind of grew up with the park, right? As it changed. And Haunted Mansion and of course Pirates of the Caribbean, those were my absolute favorites, but it was like a loop with Haunted Mansion. You know, we just get out and go back in and go back in. Like it was and when you go there as an adult, it is the same feeling. Like, okay, move over, kids. This isn't for you today.
I'm going to get in line. I'm going to do it again. Yeah. Mom is back. Let's do this thing. But it's like Carrie was saying to me the other day, she's like, maybe here's the thing about Disney right now. Disney, I know the prices are going up. I mean, there's all this controversy with the new CEO, Bob Iger. I don't know Bob Iger. Bob Iger was the good one, but the new Bob Chapek, who's the new guy, and he's like raising prices, and they got rid of the Fast Pass. They're doing the Genie Plus thing where you have to pay extra to get on the lines, and like it's a whole freaking thing. And then, they're doing still the COVID restrictions, and they should be. About like you can't go up and meet Mickey and Minnie or whoever, and the prices have gone up. So I said to Karen, I'm like, I just have a hard time, like I'm God willing, Disney will go back to normal soon. And I have a hard time bringing Liam, where I know Liam's going to run up and give Mickey a hug when it's like 10 feet away from Mickey, and still paying even more than I would have paid 2 months ago to go do this. So
that's really hard for little ones, right?
For
they
sure.
They don't know, and they would do it. They don't get all of this. So that would be really hard to have those characters walking around and not be able to do. I get it, because I mean, so he goes up and hugs, and then, I mean, it's not about the character. They're protected usually with a ton of things, right? But it's their outfits then transfer or whatever. So you kind of get it, but it's still, I don't know. That's a difficult one.
It'll be just interesting to see how they go forward, right, with all of this. But I got to tell you, it's just been just a real blessing to have you on the show. It's so great to talk to you again and reconnect with you. You've always been so gracious again as a guest and as a friend. So, we got to do this more often, loop you back in when you have some time, and, have you back on the show.
Sure.
It's just been a real blessing, Karen.
I'd love that. Oh, thank you, Arms. It's always so fun. I just knew I was going to have a ball tonight, and that's what I said in my social media. I'm like, come join the fun. I know we're going to have a blast. So thank you so much.
Oh, you are welcome. And, we had Kim says, great job, Karen. So we've got some really good feedback coming in on social media as well. So one last plug. I want to make sure that people can utilize your services, utilize your expertise as well. Getorganizedwindsor.com is the website, and then all the information as well for Facebook and all that information for social media for Karen. And Betty saying thank you as well is up on your
Thanks
website.
For joining us.
Oh, we appreciate it, and we appreciate you, Karen. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thanks, Arms. Say hi to Carrie.
We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Okay.
I will.
Thanks.
Take care, okay?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And that is Karen from Get Organized Windsor. She's just an amazing lady and a really good friend, and she knows what she's talking about in terms of organizing, too. You should see some of the work she's done for clients here in the Windsor-Essex County area. So you got to check out her website, getorganizedwindsor.com, and her Halloween stuff is absolutely epic, as always. Some really cool stuff for you to check out, too, if you follow her on social media. So, folks, that's going to be it for this episode, this Friday evening, the last Friday. Hard to believe in August of 2021. Hard to believe the year is like halfway over, but here we are in 2021. Hope you're enjoying the broadcast and the show. We do this on a weekly basis with shows lined up. We have guests coming your way for the next several months. So we do this live on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter as well, with all sorts of great news and information here in Windsor, Essex. Debbie says I'm going to have to look. Debbie, you got to look up Karen. I'm telling you, you will not regret it. She does a great job, and she's extremely, extremely kind and generous. So don't forget, next week we've got a couple episodes on the horizon. We've got one on Tuesday night. We're going to be welcoming a good friend of mine, Danny Probert, from the Bob Probert Ride. Danny's going to be joining the show. Danny, I've known for years. She's going to obviously talk about Danny and Bob, talk a little bit about some of the fundraising and the work that they're doing at Hotel de Grace. And she's going to talk a little bit about some of the pivots they've had to do for the Bob Probert Ride during COVID, too. Always an interesting lady to talk to. So Danny Probert's going to join us live on the show the 31st at 8 o'clock. Dave, don't forget, we're doing some pretty cool stuff with the show, too. If you'd like to support this show, there's a couple of ways that you can do it. One of the things that we do is celebrate the positive here in Windsor, Essex. I want to give a shout out to Steve Bureau, one of my former guests, and so many of the folks I had a chance to meet in the community over the last little bit, sporting some of our new swag. This is the Arms Bumanlag Project coffee mug. Highly durable, highly collectible, and easy to clean ceramic mug with the show logo on it. And there's Luke Michaud, our first guest on the show, enjoying his. We're asking you to change the channel, upgrade your conversation with positive vibes. We've partnered up with Divinal Designs, and they are offering these mugs at an incredible price. Mugs are $20, and you should know that the proceeds from these mugs go to two great organizations, the Ronald McDonald House at Windsor Regional Hospital and the Windsor-Essex County Humane Society. So if you want to order those mugs, find Divinal Designs on Facebook, or you can message me on Facebook too, and I will hook you up with some of those mugs going to two great organizations, keeping families close and together in Windsor, Essex, from the Humane Society and the Ronald McDonald House. So that's going to do it for this edition of the show. Have a great rest of the weekend. We'll talk to you on Tuesday. Keep up with us on social media too. You can follow along with me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. Take care of yourself. Be